Yes. You have tuned in to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Today's podcast is brought to you by Faith versus Fear, Breaking Family Ties, which can be found and available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. This podcast is designed with you in mind to remind you that you can always click that reset button and start all over again. It's never too late to be great. So now I want you to sit back. I want you to relax. I want you to clear your mind. Take in that deep breath. Prepare yourself for change as we listen in on Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Let's go.
Breaking family ties. It's being called a groundbreaking revelation for our youth today, a weapon against unhealthy generational behavior and soul ties. Essential to our society's current dilemma. Let's take back our family, our home, our city. Let's change our minds. Breaking family ties. The answer to why we do what we do. Pick up your copy today, available at Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and Nook.
Welcome. Yes, to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. As always, it is my honor and my privilege to be able to come on and share some tips and some tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better you. Each time that I am granted the opportunity to come and share something with you, I am truly grateful. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't take it for granted that you take the time to listen. I don't take this connection for granted because I know people are listening. I know that it's helping someone. And therefore, as you know, if it's helping someone else, it's helping me, in return. And so that is like the greatest joy for me and benefit for me to continue to do what I do. We've had some awesome guests this year so far, and each one of those guests has connected with me from listening to this podcast and saying, hey, I listened to your podcast. I was encouraged. I was inspired. I want to be able to come on the show and share my product, my, testimony, my experience, my craft with your listeners. So please, when you hear the guests, know that they're coming from a good place because you guys know I'm only going to provide you with the best people with good hearts and good intentions. And understand that everybody that comes on this podcast has good intentions. And so if you could support them, if you find something that, has, drew your attention, something that, is something that you can use or can benefit from, please reach out to those past guests. And I just believe God for more good guests for you guys in the near future coming up because everything that has been done so far with the guests has been done in excellence because of the guests. And I just, thank God for that opportunity. So, as you heard before, you heard my voice. The books available are Breaking Family Ties. We have Faith versus Fear on Amazon.com. Also, one of the few self-published books that I have is The Crowd. And this book, I have not done a podcast on or a teaching on or anything yet, but I do intend on doing that in the near future. That book is specifically for people who are in churches, in ministry, leaders in ministry, and talking about getting caught up in the crowd and not, well, let me say this, getting caught up in the crowd at the expense of the message at the expense of the quality of the message. What our message should be as leaders, and versus what sometimes the message get construed, changed, or shift based upon the crowd. People get wrapped up into the crowd, so people often looking more into quantity versus quality. We all know that quality is important, but you can't compromise the quantity, the quality for the quantity. So let me change that and say that right again. Quantity is important. Quality is important. But we cannot compromise the quality for something for the quantity of something. So that's all we're going to say about that. We're going to move on because we don't want to get stuck on that book. Also, an oldie but a goodie that has been kind of rebranded, that's also available on Amazon.com. It's called The Heart of Worship. It's one of the earliest books that I've done back in 2018. There was a book also released called This Journey is a Process back in 2013, and that too is going to be re-released on Amazon.com. So that's just getting all of that work out the way, all those little, news and updates and all that good stuff out the way. Because at some point, I do need to make sure that I'm keeping you abreast of what's going on with the work that I do. So let's move on and let's talk about what we need to talk about today. So really quickly, I don't keep you long because I want to make sure that, I'm keeping your attention and that you're able to retain what we need to talk about today. And so, the thing that we're going to talk about today is so important. I'm going to eventually do a message on this topic because I think it's so important. And it first starts with me, as everything does. It's going to start with me first. So recently, I have been going through some challenging moments because life is challenging, right? And so I've been going through some challenging moments, and then I watched my response to these challenging moments. And, sometimes we get caught up in our feelings, we get caught up in the moment, we get caught up in things, and we don't respond necessarily the right way. Okay? And so, and I don't mean, getting angry at anybody or being confrontational. I just mean inwardly we don't deal with things the right way. Okay? And so what came to me is I kept, hearing this word, next, right? And so I knew that God, and I do know that God is doing something specifically in my life, but I believe this is for others as well, because what's really ironic is recently I've seen other people using this word too, next. So I do know specifically God is getting ready to do something in my life, and it's the next chapter, the next phase, the next part of my journey. Okay, I know this. And so as I was meditating and thinking on that next, a little bit of uncertainty always comes up, right? It does, because you start thinking about the future, start thinking about, but where I am now versus the next, right? I start thinking of all these things, and I can clearly, hear in my spirit that God is in the next. Why are you worried? Why are you stressing? Why are you getting frustrated? Why are you getting irritated, agitated? Why are you going through all of these emotions? And why are you allowing yourself to get to a place as if God is not there? The same way that God has delivered you from all the other things that you have been through. The same God who brought you to where you are now, in which you thought you wouldn't be, It's the same God that's in your next. That is the message on today. That is the message on today. I want to encourage you because it's encouraging me today. That word was something that I needed to hear. That was a confirmation for me as well. To know that despite what I was feeling, despite what I was even attempting to think about the next, it didn't line up with the word of God. It didn't line up with who God is. It didn't line up with my relationship with God. And so God had to remind me in his way, in which he does an awesome way with me. He had to remind me that, Michelle, I'm in your next. I'm giving you a word and I'm telling you that the next is coming, right? The next part of your journey is coming. You know, I need you to be prepared for this next. It's coming. Prepare yourself. Every step that I tell you to take that step, because that's in preparation. It's coming. It's going to happen. Okay. He's telling me this. This is what's going to happen. I need you to get prepared for the next, right? And then all of a sudden I start getting into this type of feeling and concern about the next. And I'm wondering, okay, what's going on with the next? What's going on with the next? And he's saying to me, I need you to not worry about that. Because you're approaching, come on somebody, you're approaching the next like I'm not there. You're facing the next, which is supposed to be a good thing, but you're approaching the next as if I'm not a part of the next, as if I'm not sending you in the next, as if I won't be there in the next. But God is here to tell you, as he told me, I am in your next. The next chapter, the next part, the next thing, the next job, the next appointment, the next assignment, whatever your next is, he said, I am there in that next. You don't have to worry about the details of the next. I found out something, and this is really different than the normal podcast that I do. But I need you to hear this today because I know this is going to encourage somebody. I need you to hear this today. We get so caught up in worrying about, the details of every little thing, right? And we worry ourselves to death about it. But God is saying, I need you to just trust me for the next. Come on, somebody, trust me for the next. And what's really difficult about that is when you're used to like a personality like myself, right? And you like to plan. You like to, things come up, but you try your best to plan, and cover and, foresee just in case something happens. And, I'm a planner, right? And that can be a downfall, trust me, because this is a faith walk. It's not always a plan walk. It's a faith walk. And so sometimes when you are a planner like myself, having to sit back and not see, feel, hear anything is so hard. It's so challenging. It's so difficult. But hear me. This is what I found out. Listen to me today. What I found out is, and I'll keep saying this forever, obedience will open up doors of opportunities, favor, blessings from God. It just really will. I have tried this. I have seen this with my own eyes, that doors that have been closed, people who had constantly said no, rejection, or whatever it was, and me just simply being obedient, not necessarily something that I wanted to do wanted to participate in, wanted to show up for, a phone call I didn't want to make, whatever it was, just being obedient to God opened up just favor. It opened up so much favor. And so the thing is, when you are going into your next, the only responsibility that you should have and that I should have is being obedient to whatever God tells us, whatever he's showing us, whatever he said, move, whatever he said, make that phone call, send that email, whatever, just go, show up, talk to that person, encourage that, whatever it is, just do it. Just do it. And sometimes it is hard because, a lot of times we have our own thing, we have our own personality, we have our own issues, we have our own problems, we have our own concerns, we have our own whatever, and it might not always fit into our plan, right? Our plan, right? And it doesn't always fit into our personality. But how many know that God will make you come out of your comfort zone in order for you to show that you trust him? One of the sermons that I heard a lot growing up was a sermon that was preached by my mother. It's called The Eagle Stirs the Nest. And this message was just about how when a mother eagle prepares her eaglet to soar and to get out of the nest, she began to take all the comfortable cushioning out of the nest to make it to become prickly and uncomfortable for the eaglet to be prepared to leave and soar. We would never reach our potential if we stay in a place of complaciveness. If we're consistently complacent, we will never reach the potential that God has for us or that God has poured into us. We will forever be hidden, a hidden gem, never discovered because we're not reaching our potential. Even doing this podcast was something that was out of my element. It was completely something that I never, ever, ever thought that I would be doing. But doing this podcast has opened up so many opportunities. I've met so many great people, and I have reached people that I normally would not have reached, in my local area, right? I've been able to reach people from different countries, different parts of the world, different cities, different states, So this is a great opportunity, and I'm able to reach people at a broader level, right? But if I stayed in my little comfort zone, if I stayed in my little nest, comfortable and contented, this would be an area that I never soared at. So even in doing this, I had to trust that God was in this part, this next. This was the next phase for me. And I had to believe that he would be in this next if I would just be obedient. Especially when it came to interviewing people. Can I just be transparent for like 5 seconds? That was something I never did. I mean, I interviewed people when I, work in my career. I had to interview them. But who knew God would take that and allow me to practice doing in that to be able to do it this way? And now do it. And I love it. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. I love hearing their testimonies. I love hearing their journeys. It's such an awesome thing to hear. But I never would have gotten to that point if I would have just stayed in my little circle, my little box, right? And just my little area and not soared. So today, we're just talking about not being afraid of the next, understanding what the next is, and understanding that God is in that next. So whatever you're facing, whatever you're dealing with, understand that it might be a new chapter for you. It might be a new experience or a new level or a new journey, part of your journey, because all of it's one journey, right? But it's another part of your journey. And we can easily forget that God is in this part of their journey. We can easily get distracted because things come and they kind of like strip away I think sometimes it's just done purposefully, just strip away at you, strip away at me, so that we can't see that God is in it. We're so busy um, dealing with all these other little things. And I remember a person put it this way: you're so busy putting out little fires everywhere that you can't focus on the bigger picture. So we have all these distractions that strips away at us, and it keeps us from looking at the bigger picture. That whatever we're in, whatever struggle, whatever battle, whatever situation, whatever concern we're in, that God is in that too. And I remember before I heard the word next, when I was going in the middle of something, and I shared this um, with someone too, that God had to remind me, and I think I shared this with you guys on a podcast, that you're approaching this situation as if you're not aware that I'm in this with you. See, God said He'll never leave you. He'll never leave you. He will always be with you. He will never forsake you. And I know the enemy tries to make us feel as if we are alone, that we're isolated, that nobody cares about what you're going through, that nobody cares about your situation, nobody cares about your struggle. They don't have a clue about what you're going through. But without me like sharing the details of a friend of mine, but this is just to encourage somebody that the Lord sees you. Hear me today. He sees you. He sees me. He's not just, this a big God who is not concerned about his children. He's not a big old God somewhere in the space who's not concerned about what's going on with us. He's not untouchable. He's not unreachable. And I know sometimes life makes it seem that way, but he's not. And I'm so encouraged today because several weeks ago, I had a dream about a friend of mine. Now, we don't talk all the time, but I've known them for many, many years. And in this dream, my friend, when I saw them, they told me to come and say something to them. And I said, of course I'm coming. Of course I'm going to come say something to you. For those who don't know, I am a dreamer. God allows me to see many things in my dreams that have actually come to fruition. Lots of things. I have been able to share with many people things that God wanted to say or share, or, whatever with them, with their life, direction, grief, death. I mean, I've seen a lot. So this dream, I always know when a dream is a prophetic dream. I always know when a dream is a dream that God is speaking. And in this dream, she wanted me to come to her. She wanted me to greet her. And I said, of course I will. And I did. And as I hugged my friend hugged me so tight. And my friend was weeping so hard. And she wouldn't let me go. She would not let me go. She was just weeping and weeping and weeping and crying and crying. And so when I awakened from this dream, as always, the first thing I think of is, should I share with this person? Whatever I dream about a person, I'm concerned about, how they will receive it. Will they be okay with me sharing something? So I'm always very careful with how I first approach, no matter who you are. The only person, the people I think that I'm like straightforward with. And even in that, to be honest, I'm still, although my family and those who are connected to me know, of me being able to have this very special gift that God has graced me with, even in my family and friends, I'm still very hesitant and skeptical how I come across, because I just want to be very careful. It's very delicate because I can't explain it. I just really try to be very delicate. So the first thing I struggle with is, should I say something? Lord, do you want me to say something to her? Should I reach out to her? And when something is nagging me, then I know that I should. And it was nagging me. So I reached out to her. And I just simply, said, hope all is well. Thinking about you. Thinking about you for me is code for I had a dream about you. or, God is showing me something for you. But most people don't know that. But that is just literally what that is. And so I was, just said, I was thinking about you, praying all is well, love you. And she reached back and she said, just got some things that she was dealing with. No details. Okay. And I said, well, this is the door. So I explained her the dream. She opened the door for me. So I explained her my dream, show her what I saw her doing. She confirmed this. She confirmed this, ladies and gentlemen. Hear me very clearly. She confirmed this. She said this is exactly what's been going on with her. And she was just so overwhelmed that God heard her. And I told her, yes, he did hear you. Not only did he hear you, he's responding. Come on, somebody. He is responding to you. I'm telling you this because I want you to hear this. I don't know nothing about what was going on in her life. I don't know nothing about her situation. There was no conversation prior to this. There's no one in the world would have known what was going on with her. But this is a real God that we're talking about. And I have to share this with you today. I wouldn't have known any of these things. We don't talk like that. And so for her to confirm everything and say, oh my God, like she was so blown away by God. And that made me go, yes, he is all of that. He is all of that. And so it was just, again, God is in that, God is in that, God is in that. And she was so excited. And she was so blessed and she was so encouraged because God had heard her. She said, I knew he heard me. I knew he did. And I said, yes, he did. Yes, he did, right? And I was so encouraged because God had gave her what she needed in that moment. And she knew there was nobody but God. And I knew there was nobody but God. And so this is why I tell you, doing this podcast encourages me, because when you're encouraged, I'm encouraged. I'm like that. Just with ministry and life, period. Like, if somebody is blessed, I am like rejoicing. You would think I got that healing, that breakthrough, whatever. Like, I'm boo-hooing. I'm that person because I just love God and I love watching him work and I love his people. So I'm just excited every time I see God move because I know what he can do. And when he does, it just blows my mind. Like, as if it's the first time, every time, like, yes, he did that, right? And so after that, a couple of weeks later, she reached back out to me and just, once again confirmed to me how she has been blessed because the Lord did exactly what he said. He said he was going to handle it. He handled it. And she said she had been shouting and rejoicing all weekend because God had did it. Like, she didn't even have to worry no more because he had it and he did that. And can you imagine what that did to her faith? How that leveled up her faith? But that's the type of God that we serve. And I'm not saying this as, like, I don't understand the struggles, because I get the struggles. But I do know this, that even in our struggles, God is here. He's listening. He is paying attention. He's not ignoring us. He's not turning his back on us. God is there. And I always have shared with you guys that in my darkest moments of life, in my grief-stricken moments of life, God was there. Just recently, my own testimony is just me trusting God for something and me being put like my back up against the wall, as the people would say. The enemy thought that he had me, and I trusted God. I walk in obedience, as the best way I can. And God, he delivered. He gave me what I needed to take care of some things. And it came from obedience, people. I cannot emphasize that enough. And I think I'm going to share more and more and more about obedience because I want you to be blessed. I want you to see what happens when you're obedient. It's a key. It is truly a key to watching God move. A lot of times things are held up because we're just not being obedient to God. And, somebody might say, well, how do I know? How do I know? Because you do know. I think we're lying a lot of times to ourselves. I heard people say, well, I haven't heard back from God. I just don't know. I haven't heard anything. I haven't felt anything or anything like that. And I used to say that too. But the truth was, I did hear from God. It's just not necessarily what I wanted to hear from God. So I just pretended like, that's not God. That's not God. You know what I'm saying? And because it was uncomfortable, it would make my life complicated. I thought it would make life a little uneasy. But once again, we know that in order for him to get us to soar, come on, somebody. In order for him to get us to soar, he has to get us into places sometimes that makes us uncomfortable, makes us uneasy, because you have to come out of that place of complacency. Amen. 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 This is so good. This is so good, so good, so good. So I just really want to, uh, talk to you guys and share with you today about your next. About your next. It's coming. I think I'm gonna share more about the next. I'm gonna share more about obedience because I feel like this is the season for it. Something is needed to be heard about these two things, the next, and to get to this next and be successful in this next, obedience has to be combined with that. It has to be the key to that. And that goes for me too. Recently, I had to come out of my little comfort zone, and I had to come out of my place of complaciveness, and I had to be obedient and do some things that took every fiber of my being and strength to do. And I did it. And I did it. And God was so gracious to me in being obedient to him. So it's about being obedient. And I'm going to let you guys go, but there was definitely a moment in my life that I know for sure that I was getting all these no's. Like, and this is regarding, you know, things with my products, things with, being able to share it, right? Share it and on a national platform. And I was constantly getting no's. And I remember, just thinking about it and left it alone, but God had told me to do something. I didn't want to do it, but I did it, right? I wasn't gripey about it when I did it, but I'm not going to say that, I just was like happy-go-lucky to do it in the first beginning. No, because it was not something that I was going to do. But when God told me to do it, I did it. And when I did it, that platform that had been telling me, was ignoring me and was not giving me a time of day, that same platform was opened up to me like within a week. This is why I'm telling you, I know what obedience will do for you. I don't know what, others might say, but I know without a shadow of a doubt, when you're obedient to God, and I mean be obedient to God even when it feels uncomfortable, like when it takes you out of your comfort zone, when it makes you, say, God, do I really have to talk? Do I really have to share this? Do I really have to make this phone? Do I call? Do I really have to, come out of my place of complaciveness? And he says yes. And something happens when you do that. There's not always going to be drastic things. It could be something so small. But it's just to see, will you be obedient? Because obedience means you're trusting him. Letting some things and people go is a level of trust with God. It's a level of trust with God. And sometimes, people have to leave certain jobs. They have to leave certain people. And it's such a traumatic thing. But if God, is giving you the green light to do it shaken and all. Do it nervous and all. Do it. Just do it. and let him work out all the other details as you just sitting there trusting him in the midst of it all. He will never fail you. He will never fail me. He is not that God. He is not going to do that. It's just about us being obedient, listening to God, and following whichever way he tells us to go. And I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. It's funny, but I say it because this is the kind of confidence that I'm rocking with right now. I say I'm rocking with Jesus. I'm just going to rock and roll with God. That's where I'm going. I'm rocking with God. I'm rocking with God. I'm rolling with God. Like, that's the end of that story. I've rocked with people. And, people will disappoint you. People will fail you because they're flawed. We're all flawed. We're human. And people can only go so far with you. I've said this to you all 1,000 times. They can only go so far with you. And so you have to have a relationship with God in order for you to rock and roll with God. Okay? And that's the one who can go in the courtrooms with you. That's the one that can go in the hospital room, in the operation room. That's the one that can go when you're dealing with your business. Makes so nobody else can come but you. That's the one that go into those corporate meetings that nobody can go but you. I mean, we're talking the one who will always be with you, even to the end. Even to the end. He said, I will always be with you, even until the end. So, that's what I'm rocking with, and that's what I'm rolling with. And that's who I am going with in my the next chapter, the next part of this journey that, can be intimidating because you don't know what's going on. But know that if God is with you, we're good. We have nothing to worry about. We have nothing to concern ourselves with because God is there. He will guide us. He will watch over us. He will give us the tools that we need. He's going to equip us with what we need, prepare us for what we need for this next. So let me just encourage you again today that whatever you're facing, whatever you're dealing with, whatever the situation is, please remember you're not alone. God is with you even in the next. God bless you guys. Remember, I love you, but most importantly, remember God loves you more. God bless.